Okay, Chris, I appreciate everything you just said, and I'm going to tell you what I told my partner across the table earlier in this show. I'm so with you about, I was stunned that the NBA, of all progressive, forward-thinking and looking leagues, would limit the freedom of expression at a time in this country in which personalized freedom of expression is crucial to our development, to our progress along racial lines in this country. So now I'm going to speak as just a white guy. And I'm going to tell you what I think a lot of white people would think when they saw those messages. We need those messages. I don't care what Kyle Korver wears. I don't care if he wears Black Lives Matter, because you're looking at it through a different prism than I am. I care what the Black Stars are wearing across the backs of their jerseys. And I especially care what that man, number 23, was going to wear on the back of his, because it would have been clever and creative and powerful. And I needed to see it, and I needed all the white people to continue to see it, because we need to be bombarded with it. Our psyches, our subconscious need to be bombarded with those slogans, those expressions, those messages to keep Black Lives Matter conversation not just going, but aflame. We need constant bombardment all through this time in this bubble in Orlando, because white people obviously look up to Black stars, especially that man, LeBron James. So it crushed me to hear LeBron say, I wish I'd had some say-so. You're kidding me. It's incomprehensible. It's unimaginable that the commissioner, or maybe Chris Paul as the head of the Players Association, wouldn't just pick up the phone and say, LeBron, we need your input. What's up? You know, what are you thinking about this? I'm at a loss. I'm dumbfounded they would cut that man who has been a trailblazer when it comes to, over the years, way before Colin Kaepernick took a knee, that man was taking a public stance on Black Lives Mattering. He helped start the movement before it was a movement. That's the man I needed to hear from. And I don't want white people to sit back and think subliminally, well, wait a second, if LeBron's not going to have a message on his back, maybe it's over now. Maybe Black Lives movement is sort of, it's lost its steam. Maybe it's faded. It can't fade. We've only just begun. In the history of this country, the minds and eyes and maybe even hearts of white people are as open as they've ever been. See white people joining Black brothers and sisters protesting all over this country. It's unprecedented, and we need to capitalize on it. And to Shannon's point, as a Black man, he's saying, I don't need more symbolic gestures, and I get that. You need results, which, by the way, was one of the expressions Jaylen Brown wanted to wear on his back, was results. Got to get them, but you got to start by bombarding the white community with messages that make them sit back and even subliminally think, oh, I'm joining this, my basketball's back, but gee, Jaylen Brown's wearing results. Wonder what that means. Make people think. And all of a sudden, it's like LeBron's unwittingly falling back into that trap of shut up and dribble. It looks like he's just going to shut up and dribble to some white people, and obviously that's not, that narrative offends him the most deeply. So I need him to wear something. If nobody else does, he needs to. And the NBA really dropped the ball on this one by not involving that man.
Yeah, I agree, Chris. And I was talking to Skip earlier today. I was like, the NFL, when you have your cleats for cause, they ask you to get that in so they can vet the foundation, make sure that's a worthy cause, and then they'll allow you to put it on. I believe, and I guess that's what you and Skip are getting at, vet it. Okay, here, these are some of the things that we would like to have put on the back of our jersey. You can't say, okay, you could have symbols or you could have slogans on the back of your jersey, but here's the slogans that you could have on the back of your jersey. Well, what the hell is that about? You told me I could have what I wanted, and then you told me what I could choose from. It's like my grandparents would take me to the store. Okay, boy, here's $1, but you can only buy this. What? You gave me $1. Let me buy what I want to buy. And so I think, and when LeBron said, I would have liked to have some input, that's okay that I didn't. I think the thing why he didn't push back, Chris, you remember when Patrick Beverly said, LeBron says hoop, We're going to hoop. And I don't think LeBron wanted to get out, well, this was LeBron, because anything that happens in the NBA, everybody says, well, Commissioner Silver ran that by LeBron first anyway. And so I think he tries to really hide, he tries to stay in the background, knowing that he has carries a lot of weight, and his words carry a lot of weight. But I'm not surprised, because I believe LeBron says, I built up equity in this game. You look at my IPS school, you look at my outspokenness on Trayvon Martin, you look at me wearing the T-shirts, I can't breathe. You look at the initiative that I started with voting, and some of the WNBA players and some of the other players that I've got on board with this. He says my resume when it comes to these kinds of causes is impeccable. It speaks for himself. And so I agree with you, Chris. I believe that every interview and every conversation that he has in that bubble, he's going to start is that, yes, I'm happy to be in the bubble, happy to be back with my team, but we understand what's going on outside of this bubble. There's a cause that's greater than what we're playing for in here, and we're going to see that through.
Yeah, look, I think both of you guys made great points. Skip, and again, I'm looking at it as an African-American. I think some whites, though, get tired of blacks saying justice and equality. I mean, we've been pushing for these things for 400 years. Right, this is not new. And the needle has not moved to the way that it needs to move. And one of the things that has been most encouraging to me in this whole movement is the number of white people who have been involved in these protests, whites pulling down these Confederate statues,